Okay, I'm here with another one of my professors. Could you introduce yourself and where you studied?
Hello, my name is Mayowa Adegboyega, so that makes me Dr. A. I am a paleoanthropologist and a human anatomist, and I studied all of that stuff somewhere between Washington, D.C. and Davis, California.
Yeah, could you tell me about one of those places that was pretty important to you and just a little bit more about it, why it was important to you in your work?
I think if I think about a place that's important to me, that was really important to me in my work, I would have to say Davis, California. Now, the important part was all the things that I learned in Davis, California. So, for example, I learned a lot about human anatomy. I learned a lot about human evolution and human paleontology there at Davis. It's where my career really began. I like to credit Washington, D.C. for giving me the first insights into what it meant to sort of study and do research. But Davis is where I really honed a lot of those skills, figured out what I really enjoyed about being a researcher, figured out what I wanted to study, what I wanted to dedicate my life to, figured out even just how to balance work and life, how to make friends in a professional environment, how to sort of find the joys in doing research. That was all happening in Davis. And because Davis is like this really small town in California, but it's surrounded by so much around it that is fun to do, as well as so many research opportunities and work opportunities. It really feels like a central nexus of all the work that I've been able to do. You know, sometimes we go to the Cal Academy of Science in the Bay where you get to work with researchers over there. And then sometimes you travel a little bit to Berkeley to work with researchers over there. Or sometimes I'm even working with the hospital staff at the hospital in Sacramento, working with patient data over there. So Davis feels like this central place to me where I got to do a lot of interesting things around it.
Does what you learned at Davis still come up here at Duke sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. Even though I would say that a little bit of my research has pivoted a bit from what I worked on in Davis, it's still the foundation of everything I do. So in Davis, I worked a lot on the evolution of the human pelvis. But what I was really looking at back then was how do we essentially fill in gaps in the fossil record when we have broken and scattered fossils, right? Like, how do you figure out what this bone should have looked like? Because only when we do that can we actually understand what was happening with it. Can we understand its function? So that was my work in Davis. Now I've kind of pivoted to, if we do have the complete structure, what can we tell about the biomechanics? What can we tell about how the way we move and the way we walk? How does any sort of break in that system change the way we move and the way we walk, right? Like if you break your hip, what does that do to your ability to function? If you break your hip, what does that do with your ability to have a good quality of life? And are there ways to fix it? Like, can we actually put it back together Humpty Dumpty style to figure out a much more, efficient way for you to get back to your quality of life?
Yeah, and for people interested in kind of going into what you do you have any advice?
Absolutely. I would say one step at a time. That's the way I did it. It's not the advice that works for everyone. But instead of having this sort of daunting idea of this, I need my future to look like this and I want to study this, be open to multiple opportunities, right? Being open to new ideas that might meet you halfway in the process. So when I started off in grad school, when I first started considering research, it is fundamentally different from where I am right now. I allowed myself to let the next stage inform the next stage after that. So instead of being locked into one dream, one idea of the way your life should be, one idea of the way that your future should go, allow new experiences and new information to mold that. It's like a river, right? Allow yourself to be carried a little bit by the river. Have a plan, but don't stick so tightly to it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.